Captain Ji-soo Kim loved mornings on her daycare ship. The Little Explorers wasn't just any daycare, it was the most advanced childcare vessel orbiting New Seoul Station. As the artificial sunlights gradually brightened to simulate dawn, Ji-soo made her way through the main corridor, checking each specialized room. "Good morning, Captain Ji-soo," called out her assistant Da. He was arranging breakfast plates designed for the different dietary needs of their young charges. "Morning, Da. How many children do we have today?" Ji-soo asked, her dark fingers tapping through the digital schedule on her tablet. 23 total, including 5 proximans arriving in 1 hour, Da replied, carefully placing blue-tinted nutrition cubes on special UV-resistant plates. Ji-soo nodded. Proximan children were her specialty. Their delicate blue skin required careful handling and protection from certain light wavelengths. Most daycares turned them away, but Ji-soo had studied xenobiology for years before starting her business. She knew exactly how to care for them. At 42, Ji-soo had built her reputation over 15 hard years. As one of the few black human business owners on New Seoul Station, she had faced her share of doubters. But her 7 academic degrees, 3 published books on alien childcare, and perfect safety records spoke for themselves. The Little Explorers was now the most sought-after childcare service in 3-star systems. The station comlink on her wrist buzzed. "Captain Kim, the Proximan diplomatic shuttle is docking early. Ambassador Tae-ho sends his regards." "Thank you, Control. I'll head to the receiving bay now." Ji-soo straightened her captain's uniform. A practical dark blue jumpsuit with her name and credentials displayed prominently, and made her way to the docking area. The 5 Proximan children arrived with their government escort. Their skin shimmered with blue iridescence, and their large pupil-less eyes blinked slowly as they adjusted to the ship's lighting. Captain Ji-soo, the smallest one, named Mai, ran forward. "Will we do the spacewalk today?" Ji-soo knelt down to Mai's level. "Yes, we will. It's on our schedule after morning lessons." The Proximan escort nodded respectfully to Ji-soo. "Ambassador Tae-ho thanks you again for accommodating our children. He will attend the Galactic Trade Summit with full peace of mind, knowing they are in your care." "It's my pleasure," Ji-soo replied. "They'll be safe with us." After the escort departed, Ji-soo led the Proximan children to their specially designed room. The light was adjusted to the perfect spectrum for their sensitive skin, and the temperature was set 2 degrees cooler than the rest of the ship. The morning passed with lessons on basic quantum physics, simplified for young minds, and a virtual tour of Earth's ancient oceans, which the Proximan children found fascinating due to their own aquatic ancestry. At midday, Ji-soo announced, "Time for our spacewalk, everyone. Let's get your special suits on." The children cheered. The educational spacewalks were a highlight for all species. Ji-soo's daycare was one of the few with a license to conduct supervised exterior activities. Each child was fitted with a safety suit tailored to their biology, with emergency beacons and automatic return protocols. Ji-soo oversaw each suit check personally. "Mei, your UV shield is at 100%. Han, your gravity stabilizers are calibrated correctly." "Good, everyone looks ready." The small group made their way to the airlock that connected directly to New Seoul Station's outer educational walkway. A clear tunnel along the station's exterior, with reinforced viewports for observing space. As they exited onto the walkway, the children gasped at the spectacular view. The blue-green planet below, the distant sun, and the steady stream of ships arriving and departing from the station created a living portrait of interstellar life. "Today we'll learn about star types," Ji-soo explained, pointing to different colored stars visible from their position. "Can anyone tell me what color the hottest stars are?" "Blue," shouted Mai, her own blue skin seeming to glow with excitement. "That's right. Excellent answer." Ji-soo smiled, moving the group further along the walkway. Unknown to Ji-soo, they were being observed. Hana Park, newly transferred from Earth to serve as an administrative manager on New Seoul Station, was passing through a connecting corridor with a view of the educational walkway. She stopped cold when she saw the scene outside. "What in the world?" Hannah muttered, her eyes narrowing as she watched a black woman leading what appeared to be alien children in space. Hannah had arrived only yesterday and hadn't been briefed on all station activities yet. In her mind, something seemed very wrong with the picture. Hannah approached a nearby information terminal and queried, "Who is authorized to conduct external station activities with alien minors?" The terminal displayed a list of licensed individuals and organizations. Not bothering to read it fully, Hannah made a snap judgment based on what she saw. A black woman with alien children. Something had to be wrong. In Hannah's limited worldview, shaped by her isolated upbringing in a homogeneous community on Earth, this didn't fit her understanding of who should be handling such sensitive responsibilities. Security alert. Hannah spoke into her comlink. Possible unauthorized activity on external walkway section E7. Unknown individual with alien minors. At station security headquarters, Chief Jun Lee received the alert. He pulled up the camera feed showing the walkway section in question. "That's just the Little Explorers Daycare Group," his deputy said. "They have scheduled activities there 3 times weekly." Jun frowned. New administrative staff often don't know all the regular activities yet. "I'll go explain it myself. Clear up the confusion." But Hannah wasn't waiting for security's response. Convinced she was witnessing something improper, she marched to the nearest emergency panel and pressed the station alert button, triggering a higher-level response. "Attention all personnel," Hannah announced through the panel's communication system. "Potential xenochild abduction in progress at external walkway E7. Galactic Protection Services required immediately." The alarm echoed through nearby station sections, causing confusion and concern. Inside the walkway, Jisoo and the children heard the noise. "What's that sound, Captain?" asked Mai, her skin darkening with worry. "Just a station test. I'm sure," Jisoo reassured them, though she felt uneasy. She checked her comlink, but saw no scheduled drills or warnings. "Let's continue our lesson while we head back to our ship." As Jisoo guided the children toward the airlock, she saw a small crowd gathering at the station side entry. At the front stood a woman she didn't recognize, pointing at her group and speaking animatedly to approaching security officers. When they reached the airlock, Chief Jun Lee was waiting with 2 officers. "Captain Kim," Jun nodded respectfully. "There seems to be a misunderstanding." Before Jisoo could respond, Hannah pushed forward. "That's her. Why is she taking those alien children outside the station? Who authorized this?" Jisoo maintained her composure, aware that the children were becoming distressed by the confrontation. Proximan children were empathic, and their skin was now pulsing with dark blue patches, a sign of anxiety. "I'm Captain Jisoo Kim, owner and operator of the Little Explorers Daycare vessel. These children are in my care with full parental and diplomatic authorization." Jisoo kept her voice calm and professional, despite the insulting nature of the accusation. "Do you have proof?" Hannah demanded. "How do I know you're not just saying that?" More station residents were gathering now, attracted by the commotion. Many recognized Jisoo and looked confused about the situation. "Chief Lee knows me and my business," Jisoo said. "This educational spacewalk is a scheduled activity that we conduct regularly with full station approval." Jun nodded. "That's correct, Ms. Park. Captain Kim runs the most prestigious daycare service on the station. There's no problem here." But Hannah wasn't satisfied. "I want to see credentials. Anyone could claim to be authorized." Jisoo took a deep breath, keeping her frustration in check. The children needed her to stay calm. "Of course. Let me display my identification and business license." As Jisoo reached for her credentials, station alarms began blaring again. This time, it was an automatic alert sent to the Proximan parents, warning them that their children were involved in a security incident. The situation was escalating quickly, and Jisoo knew she needed to protect both her reputation and the well-being of the children in her care. This wasn't the first time she had faced unfounded suspicion, but it was the first time someone had gone so far as to trigger a station-wide alert. The children huddled closer to Jisoo, instinctively trusting her more than the loud stranger who was causing such distress. Mai reached up and took Jisoo's hand. "It's okay," Jisoo whispered to them. "We'll sort this out." But as she looked at Hannah's angry, suspicious face, Jisoo knew this confrontation was just beginning. The tension in the air was thick as Jisoo stood protecting the Proximan children. The station's bright lights seemed to grow harsher under the stress of the moment. "I need to see official identification now," Hannah demanded, her voice sharp. She crossed her arms and glared at Jisoo. Chief Jun Lee stepped between them. "Ms. Park, please lower your voice. You're frightening the children." The Proximan children huddled closer to Jisoo. Their blue skin now showed dark patches of distress, and the youngest, Mai, was beginning to tear up with silvery drops that sparkled in the station's lights. "My credentials are registered with station security," Jisoo said calmly. She tapped her wrist device, and a holographic display appeared above it. "Here is my captain's license, my business permit, and my childcare certifications." The glowing display showed multiple official documents, all bearing the galactic seal of approval. But Hannah barely glanced at them. "Those could be faked," Hannah said with a dismissive wave. "I want to know why someone like you is taking alien children outside the station." A murmur ran through the growing crowd of onlookers. Jisoo felt a familiar sting at the implication behind Hannah's words, but she kept her expression neutral. "Someone like me," Jisoo repeated quietly. "I'm not sure what you mean by that, Ms. Park." Several station residents stepped forward from the crowd. "That's Captain Kim," said one, a tall merchant named Ja. "Her daycare is famous throughout the system." "My daughter goes to Little Explorers," added another resident. "Captain Kim is the most qualified childcare provider on the station." Chief Jun looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Ms. Park, I can personally vouch for Captain Kim's credentials. This is a simple misunderstanding." Hannah's face flushed, but she stood her ground. "I'm new to this station, and I have a responsibility to ensure the safety of all beings here, especially vulnerable alien children. I need more than just your word." At that moment, the station's communication system chimed with an incoming priority message. Jun's deputy rushed up to him, whispering urgently in his ear. "The Proximan ambassador is on his way here now," the deputy said. He was alerted when the security notification went out about the children. Jun's eyes widened. "Ambassador Taeho himself is coming. This has gone too far." Jisoo knelt down to comfort the children, who were now visibly distressed. Their skin had darkened significantly, a biological response to fear and confusion. "Everything is okay," she told them softly. "Your parents know where you are, and you're perfectly safe. This is just a mistake." Mai looked up at Jisoo with large, trusting eyes. "Why is that lady angry at you, Captain Jisoo?" Jisoo chose her words carefully. "Sometimes people make judgments before they have all the information. It's an important lesson about why we should always learn the facts before we form opinions." The station's main corridor doors slid open, and Ambassador Taeho entered, flanked by two Proximan aides. The ambassador was tall for a Proximan, with deep blue skin that seemed to shimmer with authority. His formal diplomatic uniform bore the insignia of the Proximan High Council. "What is the meaning of this?" Ambassador Taeho's voice was calm, but carried unmistakable power. "Why have I received an alert that my children are involved in a security incident?" The Proximan children ran to the ambassador, their skin immediately lightening with relief at seeing a familiar face from their homeworld. Hannah straightened her posture, suddenly aware that she was in the presence of a high-ranking diplomat. "Ambassador, I was concerned about the safety of these children. I observed them outside the station with this woman, and I wasn't aware of any authorized activities involving alien minors in space." The ambassador's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but the slight darkening of his facial skin betrayed his annoyance. "This woman," he said slowly, is Captain Ji-soo Kim. She is personally selected by the Proximan government to care for our diplomatic children. Personally selected, Hannah repeated, her confidence faltering. Yes, Ambassador Taeho continued. Captain Kim is one of only 5 humans in the entire galaxy certified in Proximan childhood development and care. Our children's skin is extremely sensitive to radiation and requires specialized knowledge to handle properly. Ji-soo stepped forward. Ambassador Taeho, I apologize for this situation. We were conducting our regular educational spacewalk when Miss Park raised concerns. The ambassador nodded. There is no need for you to apologize, Captain. Your service to our children has always been exemplary. Chief Jun cleared his throat. Ambassador, this appears to be a simple case of a new station administrator being overly cautious without having all the information. Hannah's face had lost its color as the reality of her mistake began to sink in. I was just trying to ensure the children's safety. By making assumptions based on appearance, a voice called from the crowd. It was Dad, Ji-soo's assistant, who had rushed from the daycare ship when he heard about the commotion. Captain Ji-soo has 7 academic degrees, Dad continued, unable to contain his anger. She wrote the standard textbook on childcare that's used in universities across the galaxy. She's the most qualified person on this entire station. The crowd murmured in agreement, and several people began sharing stories of how Ji-soo had cared for their children. She designed special breathing apparatus for my Martian twins when no one else could accommodate them, one parent said. When my child had a rare condition, Captain Kim researched it for weeks until she found a solution, another added. As these testimonials continued, a new figure approached through the parting crowd. Governor Sungmin, the highest-ranking official on New Seoul Station, walked with purpose toward the group. Her formal uniform glittered with medals of service, and her expression was grave. I was informed of a diplomatic incident involving Proximan children, Governor Sungmin said. What's happening here, Chief Lee? Before Jun could answer, Ambassador Taeho stepped forward. Governor, there has been an unfortunate misunderstanding. A new station administrator raised an alarm about Captain Kim's authorized childcare activities. Governor Sungmin's eyes found Ji-soo in the crowd, and her serious expression immediately softened. Captain Kim, someone questioned your credentials. Ji-soo nodded respectfully. It appears so, Governor. The governor turned to Hannah with a sharp gaze. And you are? Hannah Park, administrative manager, newly transferred from Earth Central. Hannah replied, her voice much smaller now. I only arrived yesterday. I see. The governor's tone was cool. And did you check the station's business registry before triggering a diplomatic incident? Hannah looked at the floor. No, Governor. I acted on what I saw. And what exactly did you see that concerned you so deeply? The governor pressed. Hannah struggled to find words that wouldn't reveal her prejudice. I saw an unexpected individual conducting what appeared to be an unauthorized activity with alien children. Unexpected individual, the governor repeated, letting the words hang in the air. Everyone present understood the implication. Ji-soo stepped forward, her dignity intact despite the humiliation she had endured. Governor, if I may, I believe this situation could serve as a learning opportunity. Ms. Park is new to our multicultural station. Perhaps this incident highlights the need for more comprehensive orientation for new staff. Governor Sungmin looked at Ji-soo with open admiration. Always the educator, Captain Kim. Your suggestion is noted. She turned back to Hannah. Ms. Park, you will report to my office tomorrow morning to discuss this incident further and to begin additional cultural sensitivity training. Hannah nodded, her face burning with shame. Yes, Governor. The governor then addressed the crowd. This incident is resolved. Please return to your duties. As the onlookers began to disperse, Ambassador Taeho approached Ji-soo. Captain, will you still be able to care for our children today, or has this disruption been too great? Ji-soo smiled at the Proximan children, who were looking up at her hopefully. Of course we will continue as planned, Ambassador. The children were looking forward to learning about star types today, and I wouldn't want to disappoint them. Mai reached up and took Jisoo's hand. "Can we go back to our lesson now, Captain Jisoo?" "Yes, Mai, we certainly can," Jisoo replied, her warm smile returning. As Jisoo prepared to lead the children back to her ship, she caught Hana's eye. The administrator stood alone now, watching the interaction between Jisoo and the children with a conflicted expression. For a moment, the two women's gazes held. Jisoo saw confusion, embarrassment, and perhaps the first stirrings of understanding in Hana's eyes. There would be consequences for today's actions, but perhaps there would also be growth. "Children, let's continue our adventure," Jisoo said, turning away from Hana and focusing on what truly mattered, the little ones in her care. The Proximan children's skin began to brighten again with excitement as they followed Jisoo back toward the airlock, their brief distress already fading under her capable guidance. The confrontation was over, but its effects would ripple throughout New Seoul Station for days to come. The next morning, Jisoo sat in her office aboard the Little Explorer's daycare ship. The walls were decorated with artwork from children of a dozen different species. Each picture showed the unique perspective of its young creator. Some with extra eyes seeing colors humans couldn't perceive, others with different concepts of up and down due to their home planet's gravity. Jisoo sipped her tea as she reviewed the day's schedule on her tablet. After yesterday's incident, she had received 17 new daycare applications. Word had spread quickly throughout New Seoul Station. A soft chime announced a visitor at the ship's entrance. Jisoo checked the security feed and was surprised to see Governor Sungmin waiting patiently at the airlock. "Governor, this is unexpected," Jisoo said as she welcomed her distinguished visitor. "Please come in." Governor Sungmin stepped aboard, her eyes taking in the colorful, safe environment Jisoo had created. "I wanted to check on you after yesterday's unfortunate event, and I bring news." They walked to Jisoo's office, passing through the main play area where Dai was supervising a group of children from 5 different planets as they built a model solar system together. Once seated, the governor got straight to the point. "I met with Ms. Park this morning as planned. Her ignorance was inexcusable, but I believe there's opportunity for growth." Jisoo nodded. "I agree. New Seoul Station can be overwhelming for those who haven't experienced true diversity before. That's why I'm here," the governor continued. "I've decided to make this a teaching moment for all station personnel. We'll be instituting mandatory cultural sensitivity training, and I'd like you to help develop the curriculum." Jisoo's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Me? I'm a child care provider, not a cultural trainer." "You're much more than that, Captain Kim," the governor smiled. "The way you handled yesterday's incident showed exceptional grace under pressure. Plus, your background in xenobiology and your experience with multiple species makes you uniquely qualified." Jisoo considered the proposal. "I could develop modules specifically about avoiding assumptions based on appearance. Many species, not just humans, struggle with that concept." "Excellent," the governor nodded. "And there's one more thing. Ms. Park's disciplinary action." Jisoo tensed slightly. While she believed in consequences, she didn't want to be responsible for someone losing their job. "I'm reassigning Ms. Park to work under your supervision for 1 month," Governor Sungmin said. "She'll assist at the daycare while completing her cultural training. If you're willing to accept her, that is." Jisoo's eyes widened. "You want her to work here? With me?" "I believe it's the most effective way for her to unlearn her prejudices, by seeing your expertise firsthand, but only if you're comfortable with the arrangement." Jisoo thought about it. The idea of working alongside someone who had publicly humiliated her was not appealing. Yet she saw the wisdom in the governor's plan. "I'll agree on one condition," Jisoo said finally. "She must be willing to learn. I won't force someone to change if they don't want to." "She's waiting outside to speak with you," the governor replied. "You can judge her willingness yourself." Jisoo was taken aback. "She's here now." At Jisoo's permission, Governor Sungmin called Hana in. The administrator entered hesitantly, her eyes downcast, and her usually confident posture diminished. "Captain Kim," Hannah began, her voice quiet. "I've come to apologize for my actions yesterday. My behavior was inexcusable." Jisoo studied the woman. Hannah's remorse seemed genuine, but Jisoo needed more than words. "Why did you make those assumptions about me, Ms. Park?" Hannah looked uncomfortable, but answered honestly. "I grew up in an isolated Earth community. We rarely saw non-humans, and our population was not diverse. I realize now that I carried those limited perspectives with me to the station." "And what made you so certain I couldn't be qualified to care for alien children?" Hannah's face flushed. "I've never seen someone who looks like you in a position of authority over Xena children. In my limited experience, most Xena specialists were..." She trailed off. "Were what?" Jisoo pressed gently. "Were not black," Hannah finished, looking ashamed. "I made an assumption based on my narrow worldview, and I was completely wrong." Jisoo nodded slowly. "Thank you for your honesty. That's the first step." The governor, who had been watching the exchange carefully, spoke up. "Captain Kim, after our meeting this morning, I showed Ms. Park your complete credentials." Hannah's eyes filled with something new, respect. "I had no idea. You're not just qualified. You're one of the most accomplished Xena childcare specialists in the galaxy." Jisoo stood and walked to a wall display that showed her many certificates and awards. She pressed a button, and a holographic projection appeared, displaying her complete resume. The display showed 7 advanced degrees in xenobiology, child development, and interspecies education. Author of Understanding the Developing Alien Mind, the standard textbook used in universities across the galaxy. Recipient of the Presidential Medal for Interspecies Education. Special Advisor to the Galactic Council on Childhood Development. Pioneer of specialized care techniques for 17 different alien species. Owner of 7 daycare vessels throughout the galaxy. "I didn't build this business overnight," Jisoo said quietly. "I worked for 15 years to earn these credentials. I faced doubters and critics who thought someone like me couldn't possibly understand alien children." Hannah stared at the impressive display. "I was completely wrong about you." "Yes, you were," Jisoo agreed. "But now you have a choice. You can let this mistake define you, or you can learn from it and grow." The governor stepped forward. "Ms. Park will be assigned to your daycare for 1 month, if you'll have her. During that time, she'll assist with basic tasks while learning about different species and your educational approach." Jisoo considered the woman before her. Hannah looked genuinely remorseful and perhaps even eager to learn. Everyone deserved a second chance. "I accept," Jisoo said finally. "Ms. Park can begin tomorrow. But be warned, working with children from a dozen different planets is not easy. You'll need to check your assumptions at the airlock." "Thank you, Captain Kim," Hannah said, her voice thick with emotion. "I won't let you down." After the governor and Hannah left, Jisoo was surprised by a new visitor. Ambassador Taeho arrived with a formal delegation of Proximans. "Captain Jisoo Kim," the ambassador said formally. "The High Council of Proxima has been informed of yesterday's incident." Jisoo tensed, worried that the diplomatic fallout might be worse than she'd anticipated. But to her surprise, Ambassador Taeho smiled, a rare expression for Proximans. "They were most impressed by your calm handling of the situation and your protection of our children." One of the delegation stepped forward, holding an ornate blue box. "The High Council wishes to present you with the Star of Proxima, our highest civilian honor. It has never before been awarded to a human." Jisoo gasped as the box was opened to reveal a beautiful crystalline star that seemed to contain swirling blue light within it. "I'm deeply honored," Jisoo said, genuinely moved. "There is more," Ambassador Taeho continued. "The Proximan government requests that you become an official cultural ambassador between our peoples. Your understanding of both human and Proximan ways makes you uniquely suited to this role." Jisoo felt overwhelmed by this unexpected turn of events. What had begun as a humiliating public accusation had somehow transformed into one of the greatest honors of her career. "I accept with gratitude," she said formally, following proximate custom by placing her right hand over her heart. Later that day, as Jisoo prepared to end her shift, she received yet another surprise. A message from the Galactic News Network requested an interview about her childcare methods and her new role as cultural ambassador. "It seems you're becoming famous, Captain," Day said as he helped clean up the art supplies from the day's activities. Jisoo shook her head, still processing the day's events. "I never wanted fame. I just wanted to provide good care to children of all species." "Well, now you can do both," Day replied. "Your story will inspire others, and maybe it will help change some minds." As Jisoo looked around her beloved daycare ship at the end of the day, she thought about Hana Park, who would join them tomorrow. She thought about the proximate honor she had received, and she thought about all the children who would pass through her care in the years to come. What had begun as one person's prejudice had opened doors Jisoo never expected. Sometimes, she reflected, the greatest revelations came from the most difficult moments. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Hana would need patient guidance. The cultural ambassador role would require additional time and effort. But tonight, Jisoo would simply appreciate how far she had come. From a young woman with a dream of understanding alien children to a respected captain whose reputation now spanned the galaxy. The revelation wasn't just that Jisoo owned the daycare, it was that she had earned every bit of her success through hard work, dedication, and an open heart. 1 month had passed since the incident on New Seoul Station. The little explorer's daycare ship hummed with activity as children from 12 different species played, learned, and grew together. In the main activity room, Jisoo watched as Hana Park helped a group of young Martians build a model of their home planet's canyon system. "Remember to make the gravity adjustments," Hana told them gently. "Mars has lower gravity than Earth or the station." Jisoo smiled, noting how much Hana had changed in just 4 weeks. The once prejudiced administrator now moved comfortably among the alien children, addressing each by name and respecting their unique biological needs. "Ms. Hana, look," called out a small Martian child, proudly showing off the red clay formation he had sculpted. "I made Olympus Mons." "That's excellent work, Tomo," Hana praised. "It's the tallest mountain in our solar system, everyone. 3 times higher than Mount Everest on Earth." As the children oohed and awed at this fact, Hana caught Jisoo watching and gave her a small, grateful smile. They had come a long way from that tense confrontation a month ago. Later, during the children's rest period, Jisoo invited Hana to her office. Today marked the end of Hana's disciplinary assignment, and they needed to discuss what would come next. "Your month with us is complete," Jisoo said, offering Hana a cup of tea. "You're free to return to your administrative position tomorrow." Hana accepted the tea with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking about that. These weeks have changed me, Captain Kim. I've learned more than I ever expected." "I've noticed," Jisoo nodded. "You've worked hard to overcome your initial biases." "It wasn't easy," Hana admitted. "The first week, I felt so ashamed every time I looked at you, but you never made me feel unwelcome, even after what I did." Jisoo sipped her tea. "My job is to teach children, and sometimes adults, how to grow beyond their limited perspectives. You were willing to learn. That's all I asked for." Hana set down her cup. "I've requested a transfer to the station's education department. Governor Sung Min approved it this morning. I want to help implement the cultural sensitivity training program we've been developing." "That's wonderful news," Jisoo said, genuinely pleased. "You've experienced the journey firsthand. That makes you an excellent advocate." "There's something else," Hana said, looking slightly nervous. "The governor mentioned that you're expanding your educational programs for adults. I was wondering if I might continue to help part-time. I could share my experience, how easy it is to make harmful assumptions, and how important it is to question our biases. Jisoo hadn't expected this. You want to use your own mistake as a teaching tool. Hana nodded firmly. It would be the most honest way to make amends. I want to prevent others from making the same error. Before Jisoo could respond, her communication device chimed with an alert. "Excuse me," she said, checking the message. "It seems we have a special visitor arriving." They made their way to the ship's entrance where Dai was already greeting Governor Sungmin. Beside her stood a tall human man in the formal uniform of the Galactic Alliance. "Captain Kim," the governor said warmly. "May I present Director Kang of the Galactic Education Council? He's here to discuss your new adult education initiative." Director Kang bowed respectfully. "Captain Kim, your reputation has spread throughout the Alliance. The incident last month, and your graceful handling of it, have inspired many stations to request similar cultural sensitivity programs." Jisoo welcomed them to her office, where they discussed the expansion of her educational work beyond childcare. "We'd like to formalize your program as a standard requirement for all Alliance stations," Director Kang explained. "New arrivals would complete your cultural training before beginning their assignments." "That's a significant undertaking," Jisoo said, both honored and overwhelmed by the proposal. "You wouldn't have to do it alone," Governor Sungmin added. "Ms. Park has already volunteered to assist, and the Education Department would provide additional resources." Hana stepped forward. "Captain Kim's methods have proven effective. I'm living proof of that." Director Kang nodded appreciatively. "The Galactic Alliance values this kind of honest transformation. Ms. Park, your willingness to acknowledge your mistake and grow from it is commendable." As they continued their discussion, the ship's computer announced another arrival. This time, it was Ambassador Taeho with his 5 Proximan children, arriving for their scheduled afternoon care. "Please excuse me for a moment," Jisoo said, going to greet them. The Proximan children rushed to Jisoo, their blue skin bright with excitement. "Captain Jisoo, will we go on a spacewalk today?" Mei asked eagerly. "Yes, after your language lessons," Jisoo promised. She turned to Ambassador Taeho. "They're progressing wonderfully with their human languages." The ambassador nodded. "Thanks to your guidance. The High Council has received your curriculum proposal for adult education. They are most impressed and have pledged their full support." When Jisoo returned to her office with the ambassador, Director Kang stood to greet them. "Ambassador Taeho, perfect timing. We were just discussing the expansion of Captain Kim's educational programs. The Proximan government fully endorses this initiative," the ambassador stated formally. "We will provide funding for a new educational vessel to accommodate adult classes." Jisoo looked surprised. "A new vessel? Your work has outgrown this ship," Governor Sungmin explained. "The Station Council has approved construction of a larger educational complex that will dock permanently with New Seoul Station. It will house both your child care facilities and the new Adult Education Center. We're calling it the Kim Institute for Interspecies Understanding," Director Kang added. "If that meets with your approval, of course." Jisoo felt overwhelmed. Just 1 month ago, she had been publicly humiliated, her qualifications questioned because of how she looked. Now, she was being offered the chance to transform that painful experience into something that could help countless others. "I would be honored," she said simply. Later that evening, after all the children had been picked up by their parents, Jisoo stood with Hana on the observation deck of her ship. They looked out at the stars, each lost in thought. "Tomorrow I start my new position," Hana said quietly. "I'm nervous, but I'm ready." "You've earned this second chance," Jisoo replied. "Use it well." "I still can't believe how much has changed because of one terrible mistake," Hana reflected. "I almost ruined my career. And worse, I could have hurt those children and your reputation." "But you didn't," Jisoo said firmly. "Instead, you helped create something positive. Now the entire station, and soon the galaxy, will benefit from what we've learned." They watched as a transport ship docked with the station, bringing new visitors and residents to New Seoul. Some of those people will carry the same biases I did, Hannah observed, but now there's a system in place to help them do better. Jisoo nodded. That's how progress happens, one person at a time, one lesson at a time. The next morning, construction began on the new Kim Institute. Jisoo stood with Governor Sungmin, watching as the first structural components were moved into position. Your mother would be proud, the governor said softly, knowing that Jisoo had started her journey because of her mother's work as one of the first human xenobiologists. She always said that understanding begins with an open heart, Jisoo replied. I think we've proven that's true. As the framework of the new educational center took shape against the backdrop of stars, Jisoo felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The humiliating accusation had become a catalyst for positive change throughout the station and beyond. 6 months later, the Kim Institute for Interspecies Understanding was officially opened. Hundreds of beings from dozens of worlds gathered for the ceremony. At the center of it all stood Jisoo Kim, no longer just a daycare owner, but a respected educator whose influence now reached across the galaxy. Beside her stood Hannah Park, now the Institute's deputy director, living proof that people could overcome their prejudices when given the opportunity to learn and grow. As Jisoo cut the ribbon to open the new facility, she addressed the crowd with simple but powerful words. Today we celebrate not just a building, but an idea, that understanding replaces fear, that knowledge defeats prejudice, and that we are all capable of growth. Welcome to a new beginning. The gathering erupted in applause as the doors to the Institute opened, ready to welcome the first of many students who would learn the most important lesson of all. Never judge someone by appearance, for you might be facing the owner of the daycare.